Shout out to G-Man Boxing.
Alright, Jamel Herring stops Frampton in 6 rounds. Now, I picked Jamel Herring to win this fight, picked him to win it on points. Didn't really see a stoppage coming for either man going into this fight, to be honest with you. Frampton can punch a little bit at the lower weight, so at super bantam he was a decent puncher. He wasn't feather-fisted at featherweight, but he wasn't devastated at that division. So I thought at this weight, he's probably not going to be knocking many guys out. Herring is he's an okay puncher, but he's like that. He's not a devastating puncher. So I saw this fight going long. From the opening bell, Frampton really didn't look himself. Now, a lot of people were picking Frampton to win this fight because they believed that, well, both guys were talking about retirement, right? But people looked at the Akendo fight from the summer with Jamel Herring and they said, no, he's done. And I looked at that fight and I said, yeah, he didn't look great in that fight. But bear in mind, Akendo's not an amazing challenger. But look at who Frampton fought in his last fight. I forget the guy's name, something Trainer or Taylor or something like that. When you look at that guy's record, that's an English level fighter. It's not to say Frampton struggled, but it seems like he couldn't go through the gears in that fight. Like, that was a guy where if you'd fought Frampton 5 years ago, would have been gone in a couple of rounds. Frampton just was, to me, it looked like he wasn't able to go through the gears. So for me, Frampton, that was more worrying because that was a lower level of opposition. He didn't struggle necessarily, but he didn't look his normal self back then. So that's why I thought Herring was good. And there were several other reasons as well. I thought stylistically Herring wouldn't really benefit Frampton, you know, because he's so big and rangy. And that's exactly what happened in this fight. Herring won the first 3 rounds quite comfortably. Frampton had spots of success, but between boxing at range, catching Frampton every time he came in with the left uppercut, Herring was really having it pretty much his own way for the first 3 rounds, you know. Herring is a good long-range boxer. He is susceptible to pressure. We've seen that in the past. But Frampton's never been much of a front foot fighter. He's normally been someone who primarily boxes on the back foot. You know, he's got a very good jab, Frampton. But for someone who is about 5'5" with a very short reach, although his arms are actually, you know, okay size, he boxes primarily in the back foot. He's not a good front foot fighter. So when he has to go looking for an opponent, he does tend to struggle a little bit, such as what happened when Lee fought Leo Santa Cruz in the rematch. You know, Leo Santa Cruz is more a volume puncher as opposed to being a boxer, but he was able to outbox Frampton on the back foot in that rematch. And Team McGuigan, although they were told that might happen, they were very dismissive at the time, right? So we know that Frampton's front foot game is not exactly where it needs to be. In the 4th round, he did step on the gas a little bit, and he did, for my money, win that round. He opened the cut that was already pre-existing, I think, from the previous fight on Herring. It was bleeding quite badly now, it had to be said. But then we go into the 5th round, and again, Frampton started the 5th round as he did the 4th round, you know, putting on the pressure. He was looking quite good. He's given an interview in there in the ring. I'll have to play it back because I don't know what he's saying. I'd imagine he's going to announce retirement. But he did look quite good, okay, in the start of the 5th round. He was landing some good shots on Herring, walked into a left hand, wasn't necessarily hurt massively from the punch in terms of his legs weren't gone, anything like that, was able to finish the round strong. But the right was on the wall from then on, you know. Frampton, he looked a shell of himself in there. A bit like Pavek, he just didn't, that was not the Frampton I watched for all those years. You know, that was not him. Into the 6th round, he was dropped by that left uppercut from Herring. This was a more... and I actually thought he was going to sit out the count. I really did, because he had that look in his eye of someone who was almost resigned to his fate, almost. And he got back up. Frampton fought on, fired back at Herring. The towel came in from Jamie Moore. Frampton didn't want that. The referee actually, because the referee... Look, the towel is an indication for the referee to stop it, but he doesn't necessarily have to. And the referee, I don't think, wanted to, because he kind of went, no, we're not stopping this. But then Jamie Moore got into the ring, and they did stop it. And the writing was on the wall. And I've been a fan of Frampton for many years. I've seen him live, seen him in person. I didn't want to see him get laid out, to be honest with you. The writing was on the wall. Herring was always going to stop Frampton. Again, like, Frampton has had a great career. There's nothing to be ashamed that he's a 2-weight world champion. You know, in his day, in his prime, about 4 or 5 years ago, he was a hell of a fighter, you know. But I think the Warrington fight really finished Frampton. You know, some people were questioning back in 2018 how good was Frampton. And to be honest with you, when I look back at that fight he had, what was the guy's name? The guy was friends with Canelo. He fought him over 10 rounds. And we saw Frampton box really well for the first 3 rounds and then just fade. And since then, he never looked quite himself. The Warrington fight, in my opinion, really fit. That was the last time we had a Frampton close to his peak. I took a lot of punishment in that fight. So I would imagine that we... Look, I would imagine Carl Frampton is going to call it quits here. If he's not already done it, I haven't heard the interviews. They're going on just there. But Carl Frampton was a hell of a fighter. You know, I enjoyed watching him. You know, massive respect to him. He definitely deserves a lot of credit. He took... Look, Frampton really is a very small man. Realistically, his best weight was probably super bantam. So he's up at super feather. You know, he's trying to win this world title, be a three-weight world champion from Ireland. It was just a bridge too far. And I think it was just a day late and a dollar short in terms of his career. Onwards and upwards from Jamel Herring. Whether he continues or not, I don't know. His next fight will likely be against Shakur Stevenson if he fights on. I would imagine Shakur Stevenson will win that fight. But Herring... I watched Herring when he fought that Dennis. I can't remember the guy's name. He was undefeated at the time, Herring was. And I thought this guy could have been useful. But he just can't seem to deal with the pressure. Then he lost on the Mayweather-McGregor undercard. And since then, he's moved down in weight. He's built up some wins. He's a much improved fighter. He's probably at the end of his career as well. But he's been able to do great. He's been able to come back well from adversity. You know, from those two, I really thought he was finished after that loss. I forget the guy's name he lost to. He lost him on points in the Mayweather-McGregor card. I thought he was finished after that, but he moved down in weight. He's rebounded. He's come back. Credit to both men. I'm going to call it here. Lads and lassies, let me know what your thoughts on the fight are. And if Frampton's retired, you know, credit to him. Let me know your thoughts on his career. Hope you enjoyed the video. Smash the like button if you did. Hashtag... No, actually, we're not... I'm not doing that anymore. That's kind of outdated now. It's not even in the link anymore. It's not even in the description anymore. So just... whatever. I'll talk to you. Peace.